Hi, how's everyone doing? How's your summer going? I've been out of town for quite a while, so I got back a couple weeks ago, so I'm trying to get back into things. And all this summer, I haven't really had sewing classes because I've been out of town. So I'm about to start sewing classes in a little bit. So for now, I want to work on some of the things I have laying around the house. Connection available. Okay, I'm good. It's giving me a message about my connection, but I think I'm okay. And so what I'm gonna do today, my daughter was cleaning out her room. We're kind of going through this purge where we're clearing our closet and sort of getting rid of things. And she had some jeans that she was putting in the recycling bin or just to throw away, but there were too many holes in the jeans for me. But I like the jeans. So what I'm gonna do is with some of all this fabric I have lying around my house, I'm kind of figuring out a way to still use the jeans but sort of disguise the holes a little bit. So let me show you what I'm working on. Let me turn this around. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, let me pull this up some so you can see what I'm doing. And keep in mind, I am not the most tech savvy person, but I think you can see. Okay. So these jeans have all these rips, all these holes in them. Let's see if I can get better light. Okay. All these holes. And so I sort of played around with fabric to kind of figure out what I wanted to put underneath it. And I decided that I like this gold lace. And so this one, if you're going to put, I would suggest if you're putting a fabric underneath your jeans, that you try something, start with something that has a little bit of give in it, that it stretches a little bit. Because as you're sewing it down, if you kind of sew it the wrong way and make any kind of mistake, it might end up being a little bit too tight. So the fabric that I have here is this stretch. It's a lace. What is this? This is a mesh that's embroidery. And so the mesh part of it has a little give to it. So that's what I want. So what I will end up doing, what I'm going to do initially, I'm going to cut out a piece of fabric basically to go from here to all the way at the bottom. And I don't even have to go that long. It's okay if I have, this part is out, but I don't want the top part of this out. But what I'll do is sort of lay my fabric over it. So get this up here like this. Okay. Because I want to be able to stitch it on my sewing machine just on the sides, and then I'll come back and stitch by hand. So what I will do is, let's see. And I didn't have a lot of this, which is good, because then I can use it and just throw away the little bit that's left, because I kind of have way too much fabric, but it's also pretty. Okay, so this, if I look at this, I'm just going to eyeball it and say I'll start cutting about right here, because then that way I'll have this flower that's showing through. I'll have a little bit of this one. And so I want to cut this lace out wider than my leg so that I can then go and stitch onto the seams here. So I'll start, let's see, probably come down a little bit more. So if I start here and I'm going to cut across, okay, so if I cut that part out, then I'm going to come down, and I don't need all of this, so I'll probably end up cutting, say, about right here. So just go straight across like that. And let's see, I'll come over here so that I have enough so that it goes into my seam. And normally when you're sewing with sequins, you kind of want to trim the seam allowance. You need to trim the sequins off of the seam allowance so you don't end up breaking a needle or something. Or God forbid, I've done it where I've actually hit a sequin and had it pop up in my eye, but that's okay. So I'm not going to trim these because I like to live on the wild side. Okay. So what I'll do, and it's only a little bit, I'll be all right just for this. So what I'm going to do now is turn the pant leg inside out, and then I want to lay that fabric that I just cut on here. And like I said, if you're concerned about, if you're using a sequin fabric, if you're actually making a garment using sequins, then yeah, by all means trim it. But for this, I won't. But if you're concerned that, you could, injure yourself. I always just sort of look for shortcuts. And especially for this, I'm not going to do that because, like I said, it's not completely, the fabric is not completely sequined. It's just, you know, sort of these embellishments here. So I want to turn this over because I want to see the right side of this through my pant leg. And I'll just kind of position it where I want it. Okay, so if I do that, okay, and then I'll just pin it into the seams here, and then I'll go to my sewing machine and just stitch down a little bit. Okay, let's see. I don't know why I had this gold lace. It must have been left over for a costume or something. I don't know. But if it's like really pretty fabric, I have a hard time getting rid of it because I feel like I will always find a use for it. The problem is I don't have the space. Ouch, I just stuck myself. That's okay, that happens quite a bit. Okay, so you can see I'm just pinning it into the side seam here because I'll just stitch that, and I'm just going to do a long basting stitch on my sewing machine for that. It's really just to kind of hold it in place for me because then I'll come back and do some little hand stitching here. And if you can figure out some way to get this pant leg into your sewing machine and stitch all of this on the machine, God bless you. That's too cumbersome for me. So I will do it this way. Even with taking my sewing machine arm off, it's just too tricky. It's too much work trying to get into here and sew it on the sewing machine. Okay, I actually want to turn the pins this way so that when I sew it on this side, the pins are not facing me. Okay, just go all the way here. Okay, I think that's good. All right, now let's get to the sewing machine. And all I'm gonna do is stitch along here, just this much, and then stitch along here, and that'll hold it in place for me until I can do my hand stitches. I don't like this flash. Let's see. Okay. Get all of this out of my way. So I'm just going to stitch the lace on into the pant leg seam that's already there. And so if you look at it, you can see the seam here. That's all I'm doing is stitching the lace into that seam so that it holds it in place for me. And I have a white thread on my machine. It doesn't matter, you won't see it anyway. Piece of thread caught here. Okay, do your back stitch. Lift it. Always make sure you raise your needle before you try to pull it out. There's a cutter over there. So now this is why I turned my pins the other way on this side, because I want the bulk of my fabric to my left. So I want to turn it this way, and I need the pins facing the opposite direction, because sometimes I don't pay attention and I might stick myself. Okay, let's get started over here. And with this fabric, like, I can see through it, so I can see my seam. But if you can't, then put your pins on the opposite side so that you can sew here. Okay, straighten this out. And I'm just going right over the sequins. But like I said, if I had, if this were fabric it was all sequin, I would trim the sequins away on the seam allowance before I started sewing. Okay. Okay. Get this out of my way. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, so that's done. That's really all the machine sewing that there is to this. If you wanted to, you could actually do that part by hand if you needed to. Okay, so I sewed it on the wrong side here. So now I'm just going to turn my pant leg back to the right side. And I'll come back, like once I've stitched everything in place the way I want it, I'll come back and trim this excess here. So just turn it to the right side. Okay, and you can see your lace through here. So what I'll probably end up doing is just cutting this some. So what's the point of having this pretty lace if you can't see it? So I'll just trim some of this. Don't think I want too much that high up. So I'll come down to here. Okay. I don't want to do too much. I'll try them on first, and then I can come back and cut out a little bit more. So if you're doing this, I would suggest that. Don't, get too crazy cutting. Stitch it in place first, and then you can always come back and cut a little bit more. So what I'm going to do now, because I need to stitch this in place here, otherwise when I wear it, it won't sit right on your body. It's kind of open and you want it to stay in place. So I'm just putting my hand in here. And I could put like a piece of cardboard or something in here to so that I have a hard backing. But for the sake of this, I'll just put my hand in there for now to do it. Okay, just one here will be fine because it's stitched in the side seams here. So you'll come down here and put one. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb so that my husband wouldn't be calling me or, so I didn't get interrupted because he's at the store or something. And for some reason, he always gets to the store and I don't know if he forgets what he needs, but he always just calls back to see what we need instead of making a list or something. I don't know. But I hope that's not keeping me from seeing your comments. And if they are, just put your comments anyway if you have questions, and then I will come back and answer them. But like I said, I had to turn it off because my husband calls me every time he leaves the house. Okay, I'll put one here. All right. Then what I'll do is just stitch around here where these openings are. I'll stitch that by hand. Get a thread. Okay, let me get my chair. I need to sit down. Oh, I hate threading needles on Facebook Lives because I don't have the best eyes. Let's see. Let me see. I think I did it. Yep, got it. Okay. Okay, let me grab some smaller scissors. Okay, and so what I do is double the thread. So just pull it so that it's doubled. And I try not to do too much because threads, I don't know, it seems like they don't make it the way they used to. That's with everything. And I know I sound like an old person, but probably because I am. It gets tangled really easily. So don't, make your string too long. Then I'm just putting a knot in it. Okay. All right. And then what you want to do is start obviously from the other side, from the back side, because you don't want to see this knot. So I will start, say, right here. And I'm actually going to turn it over so I can show you what I'm doing. So this is the inside of my pants. Oh, I can see notifications. Someone's taking a Rainy, you're taking a class in the fall. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've tried Gutermann. Yeah, I've heard that Gutermann thread works better. So I may need to kind of switch to that. Okay, here, let's see. All right, so if I start on the wrong side here, I'm just gonna pull up a few threads because I don't necessarily want to see my stitching on the outside. So I'll just do, little prick stitches is what it's called. So you're just pulling up a little of the threads. See, I already got a tangle. Okay, I'll just keep it moving. Okay, just pull up a few threads because it's stitching in place on the sides here. Hang on, let me see if I can get this knot out of here. I just said it, and here I go already with one. Let's see. Sometimes that works. I think it did. Oh, well, we'll see. I'll pull it. Should put through. Okay. Just want to grab a few threads. So I'm not necessarily going all the way through because, like I said, I don't want to see the stitching. If that doesn't bother you, just go all the way through with an in and out running stitch. Because it would be really cool if you did, like if you had like embroidery thread that you use or something colorful, it's just up to you. I just, for the sake of this, I don't want to see my stitching, but depending on what you're doing, just go ahead and do your running stitch, and you don't have to worry about that. Okay, just doing a few little pricks here. This darn thread, let's see. And sometimes I know with thread, if it's too old, it tangles a lot. So I don't know how old my thread, but I do tend to buy thread in bulk, like when it's on sale. And this has probably been sitting out for a while, so maybe that's part of it because I do know, like even say when I go downtown or whatever, I don't buy thread that's out in the open. If there's no package on it, if it's not, the threads come wrapped in plastic, and that's probably what I should start doing, but I like the pretty colors up here. That's just me. But what you can probably do, if you keep it, once you buy it, if you keep it in the packaging and store it that way, then it tends to last longer because the dust and air and all of that tends to weaken your thread. But I take it out of the package. Okay. Okay, I think that's better. I got the knot out, I think. Okay. Yeah, you're supposed to leave your thread in the package. You're supposed to store it that way. So I don't buy thread that's, at Joann's I will. Obviously, I'll buy the smaller spools. They have out in the open, and those are fine, and I'll buy them. But, when I go downtown sometimes, and I live in Northridge, California, so downtown for me is downtown Los Angeles. When I go downtown, they have these huge bins of thread, and it's really cheap, but, I know they've been sitting there forever and collecting dust and all of that, and it's just, I know it's not going to work well, so I never buy those. getting my pen out that's here. You're welcome, Keisha. Okay, here, let's see. I'm not gonna sit here and do this whole thing because that would be very boring to watch me sit here and sew all the way around for another half an hour or so, but just so you get the idea of what it is I'm doing. And like I said, you could do this with any fabric. I would suggest doing it with a fabric that has a little give in it, as these are jeans, you know, and they don't necessarily stretch. I think they have a little give in it, but not much. Okay, let's see. So I would just keep doing that all the way around my openings. Let's see. Let's see. And just kind of keep turning it as you're doing it. And like here, I'm getting a little further in, so I'm just going to bunch it up and hold it with my hand. And just do that little prick stitch there. So I just have a few threads and I'm not going all the way through, just because I don't want to. But like I said, if you wanted to, you just do an in and out, you know, running stitch, and you don't have to worry about being as careful as this. Okay, so this, I think I'm going to stop here. I'll put my needle in place here just so I can show you what this looks like, and like I said, and not bore you with this long drawn out video, but hopefully you get the idea. So if I turn it to the right side, let me show you the other leg, because I was working on the other leg and that one's almost done. Okay. So the other one will look like this. And once I try them on, I probably will go through and cut a little bit more of this, because like I said, what's the point of all the pretty fabric if you don't see it? Let's see. So I'll do that. And like this, you see how this is sticking out? I need to go stitch this by hand. So I'll finish that. I'll finish this leg. This I've already sewn on the sides with my sewing machine. I just need to do that little, hand stitch here. And then I'll go here where my pins are and do that little hand prick stitch. And then I'm trying to decide how I want the bottoms. Like the bottom of the pant leg looks like that, and I don't like that because it's a weird length. It's not all the way to the floor. It's sort of, I don't know, a couple inches above your ankle, mid-calf, I guess. And so I don't like the look of that. So on this leg, I went ahead and cut it off. And I think what I might do, I took my seam ripper and I'll just start pulling up some of the threads so that I can create more of a frayed effect, because I don't want this, you know, clean look to it. So I'll do that. So I'm thinking I might do that. Just, you know, you just pull your threads, take your seam ripper, and you're just pulling your threads to create that sort of frayed look. You want it to look more organic, like it's on purpose. Like you didn't just, you know, take your scissors and cut it off and you have this nice, clean, straight edge, unless that's what you like. But for me, I want it, like the jeans have all these holes in them and they're very worn and weathered looking, so I don't want the bottom to look all clean cut. Like this, that's too straight for me, so I need to take my seam ripper and rough this up a little bit. So I'll keep doing that. Or what I thought would be cute, I think I will actually do them this way, but let me see, what else was I thinking? Okay, you could take Thought I had a piece I had cut. Let's see. Well, it's kind of cut. You could take, because this fabric is a scallop, has a scallop edge to it, meaning it's like this. So this would be my scallop edge. And I might, with one leg, I would cut all of this out. I'll probably cut here. So I would cut across here so that I'm using this as the bottom of my pants. So I'll kind of put it on here. I think I'll do this leg. I think with this leg, I know for sure I'm cutting this off because I don't like the way it looks here. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, so this I cut off. I don't like that. So what you could do is cut out the scalloped edge here, and then you would go and stitch this. You could actually, I've seen people use fabric glue. I don't know how well that works for something you're going to wear. Actually, I don't really use fabric glue. There's no reason. I have too many sewing machines. I use it as a temporary hold, so I don't know. It's just up to you. So I'll just kind of loosely cut this out so you can see what I'm doing. So you have another option in case you want to do that. Okay, because then what you could do is the scallop that you've cut off, you could go and put this at the bottom, and then this would be your hemline. Let me grab my pens. And then I would come with, some, I don't know, close thread if you could get to this, and just kind of go over this like loosely do it by hand. If you wanted to, you actually could come and do it on your sewing machine. So this could be your hemline if you wanted to. It's just up to you. That's one of the things I love about sewing. You just create it and it's whatever you want it to be. I would pin that all around first. Okay. So your pant leg, the bottom of it could be this, or it could be this, or whatever you want to put at the bottom of it. So like I said, I think I will try it on first and see which one I like. I think I'm leaning more towards this one. And I think that is it. So I will finish this up. I'll go ahead and finish this up, finish this side up, and I'll finish fraying the bottom of it. Let's see. But thank you guys for watching. I hope that helps you out. If you happen to upcycle a pair of jeans, I would love it if you would post your photo and tag me in it so that I can see it. Like I said, thanks again for watching. You guys have a great Thursday evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening and have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Bye.